Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Template Wasn't Up, for the overlay. Welcome to another installment of TED Excellence, the show in which apparently you can see behind the scenes, even when I don't mean to. And I come to you live, obviously live, from Crater Valley on the moon, with Dogcat Fox, a Pepper Jack, and all of you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome again to Thursday. Troublesome Thursday. Yes, we return once again to the wonderful world of off-brand TED Talks for education and enjoyment. I call it enjoyation or something. Hope you're all doing well on this beautiful Thursday evening. Let's see, before I get into tonight's topic, who's joining me for this adventure into, I assume, business advice and workplace equality or something. Keeverdam, good evening. Somnamnul Nation, hello. Advocatus Diaboli, hello. Who else is here? Mike R, hello. Somnamnul Nation, hello. Shell D, hello. Adabisi, hello. Funtime Bats, hello. And then chat jump, because of course it did. Brittany Holland, hello. Derek LaRue, oh my gosh, hold on a second here. Come on, StreamYard, you can do it. There you go. Derek LaRue, thank you so much, as always, for your continued support and generosity. Hope you're having a good evening. Hope you enjoy the show. Thanks again. Robert Pincus, hello. Nathaniel Rotskull, hello. Twisted Skipster, hello. Angelverse, hello. Simon Willikins, hello. Corey Suzuki, hello. Ercole Di Stefano, hello. Jack Frost, hello. And I think that's everybody I see presently. If I have missed you, if you're lurking, if you're in the future, hello. And before I forget, up at the top of the chat box, if you'll take a look, there are several fundraisers up there once more for our friends Maddie, another YouTuber who is needing some help with some deductibles for cancer treatments. If you take a look at that one. One for Lisa, who needs some help paying for bills for puppy health, for dog health. Also up there are for Angry Illinoisian and Moonshock, both of whom have had some medical catastrophes recently and could use some help. If you have a couple of bucks to spare, please take a look at those fundraisers. If you can't donate, that's fine, but if you can, share those out on social media. That would be appreciated. Let's see, a couple of housekeeping things here to do as I decide to do a couple of things here. This, that, and this, that, and there you go. And why not? There we are. Wait a second. Why is that? Sorry, I'm sorry not being to be so cryptic. But there are some questions that just need answers, and I don't have them right now. Anyway, what do we have on deck for tonight? Well, there's a subject that I haven't quite looked at in quite a while. Quite. And I saw the title of this TEDx, and it came to me, and I was like, hey, I haven't talked about the idea of professional distance recently, or the encouragement towards the death of same in previous streams. And so when I saw, don't check yourself at the door, how to share your true self, I thought about that old phrase that maybe is out of fashion now. Bring your whole self to work, or bring your authentic self to work. And I don't know if our speaker is going to be talking about that. I don't know. This is a mystery thing. This is one that could go several different directions. Maybe it's good advice, right? I mean, it is possible. It's not impossible that we could come across a TEDx that actually possesses a majority amount of good advice. Or it could be another bring your whole self to work, authenticity, intertwine your real life with your working life where you can't tell where one ends and the other begins. Don't know. So we might learn something. We might not. It's a complete black box. Let's find out together. Also, the bingo card tonight is bingo card B. B is in business. Sure. And if you'd like to take part in the poll that decides the bingo card each week, just follow me on Twitter there, scribe_life. Oh, sorry, it's not, pardon me. Follow me on X. I still have to change that. I don't know if I will change. I still kind of like the bird, but X. For some reason, I have to say it like that. It's the rules. I don't make up the laws. Okay. I just follow them. So follow me on X and you can take part in the poll each week. Okay. Few more hellos, and then we'll get into it. Zalbla, hello. Non-Vitae Rex, hello. Who else is here? Noah Asensio, hello. Nathan Wiley, hello. Is it Wiley or Willie? I'm guessing by the two L's, it's Willie. You ever been in prison and somebody says, after your time's up, they say Free Willy? You've never heard that before, I'm sure. Anyway, Roger Reynolds, hello. Tack Alpaca, hello, if I didn't already say hello. Resolute Germ, hello. Tyrannus Alexandrius, the Invictus Lich, hello. And anybody else? Okay, it's all starting to cloud together. So if I missed you, apologies, but hello, good evening. Let's get into it. So this one clocks in at, oh my gosh, just under 18 minutes. Oh, we better get started before I get there. Thank you, Keeverdam. Twitter to doubt. X to doubt. Sorry. Thank you, Keeverdam. Let's see. It's Willie. Yes, they have called me Free Willy. All right, well, then just count me among someone who has absolutely no imagination. With that, let's get into it. Again, just under 18 minutes. This is Tony Martinetti, if I'm saying that correctly. Trusted advisor and best-selling author. Okay. Finance and strategy executive for leading life science companies. Wow. Okay. And core methodology. Ooh. All right. And then down here below it says Chief Inspiration Officer -- inspired purpose. Oh, I'm ready to be inspired. Aren't you? All right, here we go.
Do you feel like you can express yourself fully at work?
Define fully. Yeah.
And if you did, what might happen?
I would probably alienate my coworkers pretty quick with my inane commentary on normal things. That's probably it. It's like, hey, dude, have you ever heard of Vampire the Masquerade? Or, hey, you want to talk about DEI? And I'm probably not.
Over the years, I've gotten to know some really incredible people who have held back aspects of who they are in the workplace.
Yes, and why would that be?
A female executive.
A female executive? Do those exist? Okay.
Executive.
Yes.
With 2 kids at home.
Mm-hmm.
But no one in the workplace would ever know.
Why should they? Why? Here's the question. Outside of what is relevant to the workplace, and save for, friendly chit chat or something, why is my real life necessary to disclose in detail in the workplace?
Because she didn't want that to hold her back from opportunities in the workplace.
Okay, sounds a bit paranoid, and I don't know what context that means, but okay. And again, even though he's talking about other people's stories, that's not his childhood or family anecdote, so it doesn't quite count.
A senior leader who is a caregiver for his wife who suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Yes.
He balances his time inside and outside of work.
Yeah.
He's trying to stay on top of everything. And again, nobody knows.
Maybe he wants to keep separate his real life from his work life. Maybe he finds it therapeutic to focus on work when he's at work and not talk about something that he has no control over anyway, and so on.
His coworkers, his boss, not aware.
Why is it relevant?
A data scientist who is a violin playing virtuoso.
Yes.
But nobody knows.
Oh, I fill in blank with same statement from previous.
Because she never bothered to share, and no one bothers to ask.
Now, wait, she never bothered to share, or she didn't choose to share? Why? Okay, yeah, okay. So here's the watchword. The watchword tonight is why.
Never bothered to share, and no one bothers to ask. Now more than ever, we desperately need more connection in the workplace.
Why?
We need to create a more connected and human workplace.
Why?
With the continued effects of the pandemic.
Oh, Lord.
And the divisiveness in the world. We desperately need more connection and belonging.
Belonging? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, is that the B in DEIB? Come on, let's get to diversity. Can we get to diversity as well?
Feeling connected is not just a nice to have.
Yep.
It's a basic human need.
Yes, Maslow's triangle. Yes, we know. We know. Oh boy.
It's a requirement for survival.
Yes.
I was working with this executive who had already had a great impact on the people around him.
Okay.
But he felt like something was missing.
Uh-huh.
He said that people weren't opening up to him. They weren't sharing more about who they were.
Maybe he's creepy.
And so he was frustrated.
Why is it any of his business?
And I got to know him a lot through the years, through our conversations, and I knew he had a lot to share.
Oh, I'm sure he did. That doesn't mean that anyone's obligated to share with him.
So I asked him, I said, I wonder if you're sharing who you truly are.
Uh-huh.
And I challenged him.
Okay.
I said, what would happen if you shared more of who you are?
I'm really trying to connect with people. I want them to tell them more about themselves to me. I really, really need this. I need it. I need connection. I need connection. I need connection. Maybe the guy's too needy. You ever think of that?
So he did.
Uh-huh.
With humility and courage, he shared
Yes.
with one of his employees that he volunteered his time at a homeless shelter.
Okay, so he's in charge. He was the boss or the supervisor or something. So he shared with one of his employees, somewhat subordinate to him in the workplace, this thing. I just want to make sure I got the dynamic down.
And this simple reveal
Uh-huh.
opened the door to something profound.
Uh-huh.
He discovered that his employee had grown up homeless and spent time in a homeless shelter as a child.
Okay. And then what?
This little opening created a deeper understanding of each other, a deeper connection
Uh-huh.
to what matters to each of us as humans.
Right. And so if and when that employee comes up with their performance review and it's shown that they're not doing their job, hypothetically, so what? So what? What does this do insofar as the business is concerned? Don't get me wrong. All right, workplace morale, feeling like you can be comfortable in the place that you're working and so on is fine. And, and I'm not saying that there should not be any interchange between employees or supervisors or anything else of personal anecdotes or little bits and pieces and so on. I'm just talking in the pragmatic sense of work-life separation and balance. Where's the line? There has to be, right? It's it can be a little hazy, but there is a line, right? So this employer was just rabidly wanting his employees to open up to him about their personal lives. Why? What does that do for him? What did he do with that information? How did he take that information and improve the workplace? Because if he's just a needy individual who wants to have friends or something, you have to be able to articulate a business benefit to this and not just say, oh, well, we need to make every workplace a social club or a therapy group or something. Thank you, Adebisi. Back in Nigeria, it wasn't uncommon to see Americans as nosy people. This needs to know about others' personal issues is helping me see it. This need to know. Yeah, there's, like I said, everything in moderation, but there's also a time and a place. Like, being curious about someone or wanting to get to know them a little better or something, that's fine, right? But just on some random chance he says, hey, I volunteer at a homeless shelter every weekend. The person just happened to also have a background in that. Like the employer's just fishing for somebody to take notice of him. It seems very self-centered. It also seems a little weird. I don't know. I don't know. But yes, Americans as nosy people. Yeah, I can see that. We're curious. We want to understand. I think people in general are trying to understand the world around them. And Americans, at least historically, have often been defined by or define themselves on the basis of where they come from, what they do for a living, their personal histories, and things like that. Right? We're the melting pot. So the thread that you add to the tapestry is sort of part and parcel with our culture to a certain extent. And so everybody's assumed to have some possibly, very eclectic background or family history or something. And sometimes we try to understand each other that way. And sometimes it gets too personal. So I can understand, like I say, I understand the reflex, but in this instance, in this context, our speaker really needs to give us the business case for this philosophy.
This is what we need more of in the workplace.
Why?
A deeper understanding of each other.
Why?
To what matters most. And here's why.
Okay. He says, here's why. Okay, guys, this is the answer. I've been asking for the last 3 minutes of the presentation. Here's the why.
According to Deloitte's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion report.
Oh, DEI, all of it. The entire shebang on the board. All right, circling diversity, equity, and inclusion. Also circling free space. Let's go over the card once. I'll rewind in a second here to get back to the why. Let's go over to the card one time to remind ourselves what we are listening for. Marginalized marginalization, self-vilification or wretchedness, contradicts own point or argument, feminism, microaggressions or unconscious bias, privilege, benevolent condescension. I'm feeling a little bit of that. We'll see. Weightless example. We'll also see. Plays victim. Collectivizes own demographic. Not yet. Wage gap. Not yet. Maybe he'll bring that up. Argumentative non sequitur. I feel like we're getting a list of them already. We'll see. Attempt to coin a new buzzword or buzz phrase. A list. If we haven't already technically had a list, we need to have an official list in the course of the presentation. Mind reading or assumes motives. I think we might already be there, but let's give it some more time. Patriarchy, anecdote that probably never happened. White supremacy, childhood or family anecdote, systemic or institutional, leaves out vital context. Well, he is giving us a why, so we'll find out in a second. Sales pitch for product or service. Well, it did seem to imply at the top on his title card that he's a business coach or a personal life coach or something. So we'll see. And lastly, word salad. So for sure on the board so far, free space, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Let me back up a second or three here, and then we will proceed. So he's going to give us the why. Here's the why.
And here's why. According to Deloitte's Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion report, more than 61% of employees hide aspects of who they are from their coworkers and managers.
All right, well, that just brings up a completely different question. Why is that a bad thing? Why is that a detriment to the business?
And even those who do share hide aspects of who they are, they're afraid might stigmatize them.
Okay, is that unreasonable? Why can't I have a separation between my real life and my work life? Why does my workplace have to know everything about me? Of what relevance is it to the workplace that I play the violin, or that when I was a child I was homeless, or any of this other stuff you've brought up?
It's so instinctive that we don't even know we're doing it.
No, I know I'm doing it. I know that when I'm going to work, I am there to work. I'm not there to socialize. I'm not there to pretend like I'm in my own apartment or something. Okay.
And this is happening. The company's actually even setting signals out that it's expected.
Yeah. This is a place to work. You're being paid to do your job.
For example,
okay,
when you look at the senior leadership team at an organization and you look at the senior leadership team and say, who is represented?
Oh, now we are going into a DEI presentation. Okay, who is represented? Don't you mean what is represented?
If the senior leadership team is only represented by a certain group of people.
You mean a certain demographic that you yourself may fall into by any chance?
Then people from underrepresented groups might feel like they don't belong.
Okay, so we've got mind reading assumes motives, might feel, etc. Let me circle that one. Also collectivizes own demographic, even though he hasn't said it explicitly, we all know what he's meaning. And also marginalization within the realm of underrepresented and so on. So there we go, circling those three within one statement. He covers the bases.
And that makes them feel like they need to hide aspects of who they are.
You're not talking about who at that point. You're not talking about who. You're talking about what. And you're also assuming to know something about their lives based on what demographic they fall into. Okay.
And this leads to disloyalty.
Oh, it does. Oh.
In fact, over 50% of the people who are in the survey said that their need to hide aspects of who they are made them feel disconnected to the organization.
What aspects are you talking about? Okay, I need an active example. So far, you've given us, I didn't tell people I played the violin. You've had, I didn't tell people when I was young I was homeless. Okay. Of what relevance is that information in the workplace? And how is that associated with the demographic split of senior leadership? What are you talking about? Okay.
And this also leads to the research from Amy Edmondson related to psychological safety, where people feel like they don't feel safe to show up as their full selves in the workplace.
Okay. Again, what, at least please address the concept of professional distance. At least give some airtime to the opposite viewpoint about separating your real life from your work life, from not having these two things entwined. That you can, at the end of the day, stop working and go back to your regular life. What if somebody just wants to come to work and do their job and earn their pay and go home? What if they like having a separation between the two? What if that's a choice I am making?
If you want people to show up as their true selves, then you have to show up as your true self.
No. I want people to show up ready to do their jobs for the day. Okay, I'm gonna be the cold, pragmatic employer here. I am paying somebody to fulfill a task on a daily basis in some way, shape, or form. Okay, if for some reason I form a personal relationship with this person over the course of time, great, but that is not the end goal unless I'm a creeper. All right, I'm employing somebody to do a job. People show up to do their job. If they love what they do and they love the people that they work with and they're doing something that they feel changes things or helps people or whatever, great. I don't need to know all of your dirty laundry. I don't need to know about your hobbies. And they certainly, for the most part, probably have no place in the workplace anyway. You still haven't explained why. You've explained why this is important to you, seemingly. People aren't sharing enough about themselves. You haven't explained why that is important to the benefit of the business.
This is how trust gets formed in the workplace.
Really?
So if you want to be trusted, you have to create a sense of trust in you.
What if I don't want to share my personal life? What if you trying to pry into my private life feels like an intrusion? What if I just want to have a separation? You think that engenders trust between two people? If I say, here's my boundary, and you continually try to cross it?
A sense of trust in you by being who you are. That's how trust gets formed in the workplace.
Uh-huh.
I could share countless examples of how this shows up.
I wish you would, because so far nothing you've said has made any sense.
And it's not just D&I, it's other things, simple things.
D and I, what is this, 2015? Dude, we're in DEIB or DEIA territory now. Come on.
Like your past experiences,
Uh-huh.
your family status,
Uh-huh.
or even your quirky hobbies.
What does that got to do with anything?
So I'm going to share an example that is familiar to most of you.
Okay.
Patagonia.
Patagonia. I'm honestly trying to. Aren't they a clothing company or a shoe company or something?
The outdoor retail clothing store company.
All right.
They celebrate not just, they've been a champion for the environment, but also their people over the years.
Sure.
They want to know what people really care about, both inside and outside of the company.
Uh-huh.
And they want to make sure that they're fully being themselves. And the reason why.
Okay, wait. Well, I don't know what he's about to say. I don't know what Patagonia does. How does a company make sure you're being fully yourself at work? How do they make sure? Like, I show up at work and like I'm wearing a kind of shirt. I usually wear button-up shirts. I usually come to work button-up shirts. And one day I come in with a pullover. Do they send me home to change my shirt because you're not coming in as your authentic self anymore? Like,
and the reason why is because they want to make sure that they express themselves fully.
Okay.
When people are connected to who they are, both inside and out, then it helps them to be motivated and driven in the workplace.
Or there is no separation between your personal life and your professional life, and you're technically always on the clock with the company. I mean, if you're forming an ideological or psychological Hershey town amongst your workforce, it is a benefit to the company because they'll always be advertising on behalf of the company every hour of the day in some way, shape, or form, right? Becomes part of your entire life. Is that really a benefit to people? I mean, if you enjoy that kind of thing, go for it. It shouldn't be mandatory.
And it connects to this idea that we all contain multitudes, right?
I am Legion.
All more than just one thing.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we're going to talk about intersectionality?
And when we start to get to know each other on a different level, we stop holding biases against each other.
No, everybody's got biases.
Which is really important.
Okay, well, you just, wait a second. We stop holding biases. Tell me again about the executive team and representation. And, okay.
And ultimately, when we do that, we can stop putting each other into boxes.
Tell me again about the executive team, representation, how you know what people are thinking because of the demographic they fall into. What? Okay. Oh.
And I'll get more into that.
Gunfox61 makes a good point. Word salad. Yes, I think we have crossed the threshold into some lettuce, tomatoes, and celery word salad.
A bit.
Okay, good.
Another example.
Okay.
Microsoft.
Oh boy.
In the early 2000s,
yes.
Microsoft was a highly competitive and individualistic company.
Okay.
There was a dog-eat-dog culture.
Sure.
Where people just were all out for themselves.
And that's entirely not the case anymore. I mean, if you say so.
And it led to a very stressed, a high level of stress and burnout.
Yeah.
And ultimately, that was leading to a lack of innovation and collaboration.
Okay.
So in 2014, Satya Nadella came in as the CEO or came into the CEO position,
Yeah.
and he announced a cultural shift
Mm.
to make the company a more connected company.
Okay. A more connected company. All right. A kinder, gentler Microsoft. The softer side of Microsoft. Thank you, Mr. Tickletrunk, for the happy, smiley, lovely dog cat fox. Oh, dog cat fox.
Wow. Wow.
Oh, that's a Sinatra dog cat fox. Thank you, Mr. Tickletrunk. Appreciate it. I also appreciate your kind words on the comments the other day. Just as a programming note in relation to that, my interview with Benjamin Boyce has been pushed back to sometime the end of the month because of scheduling snafus and things. So as soon as I know more about that, I will let you guys know, but that's been delayed temporarily. Okay. What were we talking about? Yeah, Microsoft, softer side of Microsoft.
And through his efforts, he said that he wanted to create this organization that would emphasize empathy, teamwork, and a growth mindset.
Empathy, teamwork, and a growth mindset. Okay. Why do you need to know my hobbies for any of that to work? Why do you need to know the dark history of my childhood for that to work?
This shift led to not only employee satisfaction and engagement, but also innovation and growth.
No. What did he do? Buzzwords aside, what did he do? What changes were made to the company dynamic, policies, benefits, whatever? It wasn't magic words. I'm hoping. Well, I mean, if it was, that'd be amazing. If he stood up on a stage and said, "We're going to change the company culture with empathy and innovation and teamwork," and all of a sudden, poof, like everybody was happy. I mean, that'd be amazing. But I'm guessing he implemented some new policies, some new initiatives. What were they? It wasn't just wishful thinking, right?
And Microsoft also experienced something really interesting.
Okay.
They actually were awarded for how their organization really promoted diversity and inclusion, and was awarded for their workplace culture.
On the basis of what actions? On the basis of what changes or initiatives? And trust me, getting an award for DEI really doesn't mean a whole heck of a lot. I hate to tell you this. It really doesn't mean much. Congratulations, you put 3 letters on your website saying that you perform these things. The end. What did they do? We've gone from the why now, and now we've gotten into the what. I feel like an old-time reporter or something. Who, what, where, why, and how. What did they do, and why did it lead to better outcomes? Okay, you making gestures like that is not proof of something. That's not a voila. You've given us nothing. All right, circling leaves out vital context because, and this isn't a thing where I don't believe that Microsoft did something. I can believe it, but I don't know what it is. And in the presentation, if he's going to bring it up as a point, he needs to make the point. And looking like he's proud of himself just for saying things without any basis doesn't.
So,
A needle pulling thread.
what are you holding back?
Oh, man. How much time do you have?
What are some things that you might be hiding?
My secret identity as non-author dark.
This question is what we're going to lead into an exercise right now.
Okay. Ooh, exercise.
I want to know who you are.
Okay.
And so you all have a whiteboard.
I do? Well, as you may or may not know, most companies have a whiteboard. That's a double entendre, according to our. Never mind. Okay. I don't deserve it. I really don't. But I'm gonna do it. Okay. So, anything.
And a marker.
Oh, a marker.
And what I'd like you to do is in 3 words.
3 words.
Less than 3 words.
Less than 3 words, so 1 or 2 words. In less than 3 words. God, what are my options?
Share one thing that makes you who you are.
Ooh, one thing that makes me who I am. Who I am. Let's see. Doubt. There you go. There you go. How's about that? Not the film. It was a good film based on a play, you know, Philip Seymour Hoffman. But the concept, the mechanism, let's say, of doubt.
Take a few moments to write that down.
How many moments have we got here? Am I going to have to fill in dead air? I can do that. Filling in dead air is half of this job, I tell you what. All right.
This is going to take some courage, okay? Because I'm going to ask you, once you've written it down, to hold it up high so we can all see it.
But if they're in stadium seating, they're all going to see the backs of people's whiteboards. Unless you're talking about holding it up behind them, but even then, most people, I don't think that's going to work. And am I being too literal?
It's going to take a moment of courage. But when you do, you're going to realize that we're all unique, but we can all celebrate each other.
I don't need someone to reveal something personal about themselves to extend that benefit of the doubt. I can assume something unique about every individual, even if I'm in a room full of people who look the quote-unquote same as you previously described. Okay. Benevolent condescension. I just feel that at this point. It's just a feeling that I have. And strangely enough, this doesn't usually happen in the middle of a show, but because of that.
Bingo. What? Of course!
Yes, diagonal from the B down, we have a bingo. Our first bingo mid-show. Oh boy. Yes, keep going. Yes.
Who wants to share?
No, I don't have a choice. I'm required to share, right? You're in this exercise, you're the employer and the audience are the employees. If I choose not to share, what will you do with me? If I don't want to bring my whole self, my authentic self, my true self to work, what consequences befall me? If I don't wish to participate in your therapy group session, what happens to me? Okay, I'm waiting. The suspense is killing me. What am I going to learn about people I can't even see?
Okay, I can't read it. You know what? Why don't you just say it out loud? Dog? Dog mom. Oh, yes.
Dog mom. Okay, great. And knowing that at the workplace, I suppose a whole bunch of dog lovers could get together and walk their dogs or dog sit or talk about doggy stuff. or have an employee resource group for dog moms. How about that? Okay, that'd be great.
I love it. Dog mom. Love it. Who else?
Nobody.
Say it.
Nobody.
Friend and a student.
There you go.
What?
Who else?
Something and a student? I don't know.
Back there. Social worker.
Social worker's a vocation, but okay. I mean, if you want to define yourself by your job, I guess that's your choice.
Fantastic. A couple more examples. Anyone else?
Mm-hmm.
Connector of people.
Connector of people. Match.com. I work for OkCupid. I work for Tinder. A lot of connection going on between people there. Okay.
I love it.
My mind's in the gutter. What can I tell you?
This is beautiful.
Is it? Really? Okay, what does being a dog mom tell you about that person? Let's see. Well, they like animals, I suppose, and kindness towards animals can be an indication of someone's overall morality and compassion, but not inherently. Connector of people, I don't know what that's supposed to mean. You could be a sysadmin on an internet service provider, or you could be a matchmaker. What was the other one? Something student. Okay. Yeah. And so what? So what is the purpose of this? How does this benefit the business? Knowing that lady is a dog mom does what for the business?
I'm really inspired by what you're sharing.
Why?
And if we were to spend more time together and really hear everyone's, we would see that we all are very, very diverse.
Yeah, unless you all look the same and come from the quote-unquote same group, because then everybody who doesn't come from that group is going to feel like they can't share their true selves, right? You go from imagining everybody under one category, and now you're talking about diversity of background, of thought, of ideas, of interests, and everything else, which is good. That's the kind of diversity I wish people would focus on more, but they often don't, and you certainly aren't, and DEI doesn't. But the dynamic here is not just about, one to another human or whatever. You're talking about the workplace. I have yet to hear how any of this is necessary or what benefit it brings to the business, or how you would implement such a program where this is relevant.
In different ways.
Uh-huh.
And we have a lot to share with each other.
If I so choose.
In my time in corporate,
Uh-huh.
I spent a lot of time not being my true self.
Okay, and
I felt like I had to be a certain persona.
Yes, there is a inside voice and there's an outside voice. There's a professional demeanor, and then there's laying around at home in your boxer shorts eating Cheetos and watching anime or something. Yes, there's different personas for different circumstances. Yes.
I was a finance executive, and I spent time trying to play the role of the high-level finance executive, always on top of everything.
Yeah.
I had to know the numbers.
Yes.
Be analytical.
Yes.
And be on top of all the numbers.
Okay, you said on top of a couple times. Yes. Well, if you're a financial executive of some kind, that is expected of you. That's what you're being paid for. Yes.
But deep down, that was not who I was.
Then quit.
I was somebody who was passionate about art.
Nothing about your job prevents you from being passionate about art.
And design.
Nothing. Okay, you obviously fell into the wrong career then. So change careers. I mean, if you need your work life to match your personal interests, then aim for that. There's nothing wrong with it. But even if you were a financial advisor by day and a painter and interior designer by night, you can do those things. So, okay, so you changed careers, right?
About adventure. And I was very curious about people and their stories.
Okay, then quit. Change your career. You did do that, right?
And the more I held all that stuff out of my life, I felt lost.
Nothing was preventing you from having that in your life. Being a financial advisor didn't prevent you. Unless, of course, you had to take so much work home that you didn't have a life outside of work. And isn't that the danger you are suggesting?
Disconnected.
Eventually,
I realized that when I was putting myself in this box and being something I was not.
Okay, don't define yourself by your job then. This is what I'm talking about, professional distance, not only between other people for the sake of the work, but also in your own mind, that your job is not necessarily you. Of course, if you hate your job, if you're miserable going to your job, then quit. You have these options.
I wasn't able to feel fulfilled in my
Okay,
life.
then quit.
So as I started to realize I wanted to change that,
Yeah.
I let go of all of that. And I
Okay.
realized that
there is more than just one job in the world.
I opened up. I started to feel a little freer. I felt lighter.
Great.
And people started to really understand who I was.
I don't have any context for any of this, but okay, great. You changed careers. Yes.
And it made me come alive.
Okay.
I realized that I had a lot to offer that I wasn't really sharing with other people.
And so you changed careers.
And that's one thing that I want for everyone here, is when you start to let go of the things that you think you need to be, but really to be the person you want to be, by understanding all the parts of you and who you are.
Okay, well, what you're talking about for some people can be a lifelong endeavor, understanding oneself. You know, I'm now 44 years old. I don't necessarily understand myself entirely. I got a better idea now than I did, say, 15 years ago. Maybe. But, you know, something could happen tomorrow that can completely throw me for a loop. I still don't have a handle on everything. Now, do I define myself by what I do for a living? No. Do I take pride in what I do for a living? Yes. Because I want to do a good job. I want to feel like I'm actually earning my pay and doing my bit. But once I am done with my job for the day, I am done. I cut the line and I go off into the whatever amounts to my regular life. And it's weird these days with remote working, but you know what I mean. But that's me. You know, and how do I express myself? How do I, you know, stretch my legs artistically or creatively or whatever else? Well, that's for the time when I'm not working. And I can keep these things separate. And I kind of appreciate the fact that I can keep these things separate. I can appreciate the fact that for the most part, my job is not overtaking the rest of my life and the rest of my time when I'm not on the clock. You know, sometimes, hey, you know, a crisis happens or things line up incorrectly and I'm working on a weekend. Everybody's working for the weekend. But it doesn't happen all the time. It's a rarity. It sucks when it does. But I also know that when I'm done, I'm done. And my coworkers, you know, even when I worked in the office, even when we were all in the same spot, we were all there doing our jobs. There wasn't a lot of socialization. It wasn't party time. It wasn't, you know, kibitzing about our weekends or whatever. We went in, we did our jobs, we went home. There was a camaraderie that was created in the course of the workday or in things that happened with work. And certainly I found out different things about my coworkers over time, their special interests or their hobbies or whatever else. But it wasn't required of them to share that with me. And I didn't feel like they were being, you know, obstructive or something if I didn't know every detail about their personal lives. I don't know. This sounds like a you thing more than it sounds like something that everybody needs to do. And unless or until you actually describe what a company would do to further this end, like you mentioned Microsoft, you didn't tell us what they did. You mentioned Patagonia, you didn't tell us what they did. Then I don't know what you're talking about. And it all sounds like high-minded pipe dream fluff.
And sharing it.
I'm sorry, I'm going to back up a little bit because I did cut him off.
But really to be the person you want to be by understanding all the parts of you and who you are and sharing it.
What if the person I want to be doesn't fit in with, like, the person I want to be, like in my ideal self, right? I'm an author. I've written at least a book, right? What does that have to do with the workplace? Nothing. I mean, unless I'm sneaking away during the work hours to write my book or something, right?
Yeah. So how can you do this?
I do what? I don't know. Tell me.
Well, I want to share something with you that will allow you to express yourself more fully.
Okay.
and to bring more of yourself into the room so that, that you can get to know other people on a deeper level, to create deeper connections.
Okay, well, maybe I can use this in the course of my YouTube work, because that's really where I connect with more people than I would during the course of the workday. Okay, what am I doing?
In the workplace.
Yes.
And in your life in general.
Okay, life in general, yeah.
And so this framework I'm going to share with you, it's a methodology called the CORE methodology.
Did you make up the CORE methodology? Because that would be a buzzword buzz phrase.
I've been using for a number of years with my clients. And I finally am excited to share with all of you.
Okay, I'm going to, okay, if someone tells me otherwise, fine. But for the time being, I'm going to assume that this is his pet project and buzzword buzz phrase. Circling that one on the card. And why is it thinking so hard about that? Okay.
So you can start to create deeper connections with the people around you.
Okay.
So the CORE methodology, here it is.
Yes. All right.
Curious.
Curious. Yes, I guess that would, yes, I have to have a reflex to want to know things. Yes.
Get curious. Get curious about what you're holding back.
Get curious about what I'm holding back. Okay.
What's unique about you that you want to share?
Well, if I'm holding it back, then I don't want to share it. Right?
I often say that what makes us weird is what makes us interesting. So if you can understand what are the things that are weird about you in a good way, hold on to that, embrace that.
Well, maybe that's for me, right? Maybe that's nobody else's business. Okay, I'm just repeating myself now. Maybe that's something I'm holding back, right? That I just keep having repetitive thoughts.
And start sharing it.
Yeah. Okay.
And curiosity is an internal move. It's an internal expression that then leads to an external movement.
I thought curiosity is mostly about external things, like something I don't know enough about and I'm seeking out more knowledge of it. I mean, sure, personal curiosity, introspection. Maybe you mean introspection? Maybe it's 6 of one thing, half a dozen of the other, but okay.
Of sharing. So get curious.
I'd rather let's get dangerous.
That's the first move in this process.
Okay, get curious.
And once you start to really embrace your uniqueness of who you are, then you can move on to the next part.
Okay.
O. O stands for open.
I feel like I'm watching an episode of Sesame Street. Okay, so first I have to be curious about the parts of me that I'm not sharing. Then I have to be open. Once I've identified the parts of me that I'm not sharing, then I have to be open. Okay.
Open yourself to sharing with others.
Yes.
So they can experience more of who you are.
Well, what if they don't care? Thank you, Mr. Tickle Trunk. This is so 1970s patchouli smelling guru talk. It's amorphous self-help stuff with the veneer of being some kind of business professional development kind of thing. That's all it is. That's all it feels like so far. And it's the most surface level Hallmark card kind of platitudes. Oh, you need to share yourself. If only I'd asked that question, I would have known this little thing about this. It's so interesting that my coworker likes to make custom pool cues. Yeah, it's like, that could be really interesting. Well, what does it have to do with the workplace? Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm just an older curmudgeon at this point. Maybe I'm like that character in Crankshaft. Is that comic still going? That comic strip? Maybe not. Maybe that shows my age. Okay, so C is for curiosity, O is for openness. R. All right, let's try to guess. R is for, well, E has to be empathy. Okay, I have to assume E is empathy. or empathetic or something. Okay, so that's my bet. I'm going to guess E is for empathy. R, respect, RESPECT, find out what it means to me. Maybe R is respect. Okay, so I'm going to say, yeah, okay, so curiosity, open, respect, empathy. Or reflection. Maybe reflection? Oh, I'm pulling out all my vocabulary words here. Thank you again, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Big drum circles back might help. Oh, bring drum circles back. Yeah. This is kumbaya self-help stuff without any real definition or instruction. Okay, all right. Anyway, all right. So yeah, respect or reflection, and then empathy. I will bet the farm, and since I don't own a farm, there's nothing at risk. I will bet the farm that E is empathy. Thank you, Kieverdam. Acronym list. Yes. These are steps. He did call them steps. All right. So yeah, circling a list. Thank you, Kieverdam. Good call. All right. Let me keep going because I'm getting all distracted.
And open yourself to experience others. So you get to hear, what is it about you that makes you unique through conversation?
What is it about you that makes you unique? Okay.
Opening is really important to really understand that the elements are, you want to make sure it's non-judgment, compassion, and there's a curiosity here that you're asking, you want to know more about that person.
Non-judgment? So if I open up about myself and just as a hypothetical, if I'm bringing my whole self to work, if I'm bringing my authentic self to work, and I proudly declare my political thoughts and affiliations, you think there wouldn't be any judgment in this day and age? You sure about that? Are you sure you want to introduce that into the workplace as a matter of course?
When you think of this as a bridge to understanding,
it
becomes a beautiful thing.
Okay, well, judgment is part of understanding. I hate to tell you this.
Where you're creating a connection with somebody else. This starts with you.
Yes.
It's important.
I thought it started with O. Oh! Dang it.
R stands for release.
Jeez Louise. I was sure it'd be, okay, well. Okay, curiosity, open, release. What am I releasing into the workplace?
Release yourself from all the fears that you may have and relax into the experience of doing this exploration.
Oh, just release all of my fear. Okay, well, doing that is really just a light switch in most people's makeup. So yeah, sure, just release my fear, not release the Kraken. All right.
For a lot of you,
yes,
especially the introverts who may be afraid of sharing this.
Or not interested in sharing this.
I want you to go step at your own pace.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate you giving me that permission.
Just take it at your own pace and realize that even just one step out there to share something about yourself is a move in the right direction.
Tell me something about yourself, Seymour. Well, in my private time, I enjoy taxidermy.
Oh.
I have a fish tank full of beetles that eats the flesh off of dead animals so I can get the bones clean.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Seymour.
I'm glad I took this first step towards connection.
It's a moment of courage. But on the other side of this is a connection to somebody who you will get to know better.
Okay. Please, at least give me this one. Give me this one. E is for empathy. Please. No, wait. Experience? No, empathy. I'm betting the farm on empathy.
So lean into this.
Okay, yeah.
Take the experience one step at a time.
Okay.
And see if you can get over that fear.
Okay, see if. Okay, lastly, all right.
E.
No!
E stands for expand.
Dang it! I lost the farm. Oh, man. So long, Bessie. You've been such a good cow. Oh, and all the chickens. Oh.
Expand your understanding by broadening the circle.
Oh,
really get to see who else can I bring into the circle of understanding? Who else in the workplace or in my life do I want to get to know and really expand my understanding of?
Who do I want to proselytize to or continue to pry into the lives of? Okay.
When you start to really celebrate and understand what's different about them and the similarities, then you start to create a much deeper connection with them.
Okay. Let me step back for a second here. If this was just a encouragement presentation for, improving your social life, right? Or getting out of your bubble or something. A lot of this is basic, again, Hallmark card level platitudes on the whole process. So if you're talking to absolutely like hermit-ish introverts and you're trying to nudge them towards expanding their horizons, okay. But unfortunately, that's not the context in which this was presented. This was about the workplace. This was about business results. You brought up Microsoft, you brought up Patagonia, you brought up the morale of the employees and so on. You have to give us evidence and examples of what you are talking about and how this is supposed to work in the workplace. And consequently, the benefits to the business that come about from that. It might sound kind of mercenary, but unfortunately, you have tied this idea to business performance and business improvement. You have not shown that. You haven't drawn the line between these things. I can believe, just, without a whole lot of nudging, that an improved morale in the workplace can lead to better outcomes for the business. Certainly. Tell me how to do that. If I am an employer and I am trying to achieve a better work culture, where people can feel more relaxed and they don't feel so under pressure and there's not so much stress or burnout. Burnout is a real thing. I want to avoid burnout. I don't want my employees to be burned out. I want them to come to work fresh and ready to do their jobs. What would you suggest be done as an active example in the workplace? All of this other stuff is all touchy-feely, social, pseudo-psychological therapy stuff. This doesn't sound like an action plan I can implement in the workplace without starting to risk some very interesting lawsuits from one employee to another as they get really curious about each other. Like perhaps too curious. Like perhaps it becomes almost a harassment situation if I don't put certain, stoppers on it. Okay.
So there it is. That's the model.
There it is. That's the mod. Okay.
So what would happen if you did bring more of yourself into the workplace?
I don't know.
Well, I invite you to give it a try.
No. Why should I? In the workplace, why should I?
Because we do need more people who are willing to bring their unique self into the workplace.
Why? Okay. What does my interest in, let me look around the room here, movies. I've got IKEA bookshelf thing over here just filled to the brim and stacked on top with DVDs of a zillion different movies and documentaries and all types of stuff. Okay, what does any of that have to do, and how is any of that of a benefit in the course of my workday where I'm basically working with data entry and giant spreadsheets and just, data management? What does any of that have to do with anything? Am I supposed to be talking to my coworker on the side about the movies we love and sort of taking time away from my job to do that? I don't think so, and I wouldn't do so, because I have a professional distance between my real life, my hobby life, whatever, and my work. But that is part of my whole self, an interest, a passion, a ridiculous bank of trivia regarding movies. So I shouldn't hold that back in the workplace, right? So how would I express that? How would I demonstrate that? How would I bring that into the workplace? Because there's no barriers here. It's got to be my whole self, my open self. So I know I'm asking rhetorically, but he's not putting any limits on this. So how does my movie trivia ridiculousness have any place at work? Thank you, Johnny Hellcat. If anything, my boss tells me to pull it back. Yeah. You know, it's one of those things where it's like, if somebody asks you, how are you doing or how's your day? Do they really want that answer? Are they just being polite? Different cultures handle that question differently, I've learned. Right? Like just saying, hey, how are you? Can be a very sort of cursory version of hello for most, let's say, Americans. But what was it? I think it was a German guy I talked to once. And I said, hey, how you doing? Or something like that. And he stopped and he got his face lit up and he was very happy that I'd asked. And he told me how he was doing. And it wasn't like he was joking or you know, being sarcastic or something. No. I had opened the door legitimately with what I'd said. And so he felt completely at ease at telling me. But outside of that, like, why do you need to know? What use is it? Right? He hasn't. That's the frustrating part about this. He hasn't answered the question of why. And then beyond that, also, what exactly does a business do to make this happen?
And we do need people who are bringing connection together in different spaces.
Okay, if you're talking about teams and teamwork towards achieving a goal at the workplace or finishing a project and everything else, yes, leadership in business is important. People that know how to leverage the skills of those around them to get a task completed is important. If that's the kind of connection you're talking about people who know how to utilize individuals towards an end for the benefit of the business, yes. And if there is camaraderie or some sharing of personal details and so on during that, fine. But that's not what you're talking about. You're not talking about leadership. You're just talking about socialization. You're talking about kibitzing. You're talking about like group therapy or something.
Because connection is important.
Yes, you keep saying that.
Especially now.
Especially now. Yeah, why is now so unique? What about now?
And we want to hear the voices of the people who are not bringing their full selves.
Why?
It's time.
It's time
for us to create a more connected world. One brave human at a time. Thank you.
Okay, well, if you couldn't tell, I did not find the presentation all that convincing or persuasive. If you couldn't, I know, I held back. I was holding back, everybody. I apologize. I did not bring my whole self to this presentation. I was really restrained, you know, if you couldn't tell, you know, but I'll try to do better in the future. I'll be more open, you know, I'll be more curious. I'll release more, and certainly I will expand on my ideas and opinions. Okay. Anyway, I could go on like that forever. Let's go on to the bingo card. The real expression of how we all feel after a fashion. Let's see, is that good? That's good. All right, so here's where we are at. Let me make sure I've got it all refreshed. There we go. Okay, so this is the bingo card as I have it. I'm going to go over it one more time by myself. If you have any arguments for squares to be circled, please hold on to them, and I will get to you presently. Self-vilification or wretchedness. Yes, I was unhappy in my job as a financial advisor or financial executive. And I was terrible and I wasn't sharing myself and I felt awful and da-da-da-da. Okay, we get it. Now, he didn't finish that story to tell us what did he then do. So no ending to that story. Contradicts own point or argument. Don't put everybody in boxes. By the way, if the executive team all comes from one group, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Here's that one. Feminism. He didn't talk about gender. I mean, he didn't mention female executive early on in the thing, but that didn't really become a part. So no. Microaggressions or unconscious bias. He did talk about biases, eliminate bias and so on. So circling that one. Privilege. I don't know that came. I could stretch in regards to that same example from who's representing the boardroom or whatever, but I don't know if that technically counts. Weightless example, Microsoft. I mean, Patagonia could as well, but Microsoft specifically because they spent so much time on it and never told us what did Microsoft do to change the culture. What? Not the honeyed words of its CEO on a stage saying this is what he wanted to have happen. What did he do? How did it work? How did it demonstrably improve things? I can see some company policies and everything else having a positive effect on mitigating employee burnout, as an example. I could imagine that. Why didn't he tell us? I don't know. Plays victim. See, here's the thing. Except for his job deal, he never really talked about himself in any... I don't know if that's technically playing victim. He was unhappy in his job. Okay, I can relate. A lot of people could. Is that playing victim? I don't know. Wage gap. He didn't really talk about pay. And by the way, I mentioned this, I think in the last TEDx. Wage gap is the one square I'm looking at for replacement, either in redefining the term or putting something completely new in there, because the wage gap is technically supposed to it's supposed to refer to the actual wage gap theory, right? The aggregate amount of money a man earns in a year at full time versus the aggregate amount of money a woman earns full time over the course of a year. That exact example was where this square came from in the early days of the show and the series. At this point, it's not as much of a centerpiece of a lot of presentations. And so I'm looking at replacing it. I've had a couple of suggestions. I need a few more. If you've got them, leave them in the comments after the show. I'll probably miss them in the chat right now. Or you can suggest them in the Discord, and I'll have a link to the Discord by the end of the show. All right. Anyway, wage gap. No, he didn't bring up any kind of financial stuff or pay or anything else. Argumentative non sequitur. I mean, almost to a one, just bringing up business at all. Right? He brings up the benefits of business, but then he never describes how it's supposed to work. So, in fact, wrapping this entire thing around some sort of like business benefit idea just didn't ever come up or was never completed. Patriarchy, again, he never talked about any sort of like gender disparities or gender politics in any particular way. Anecdote that probably never happened. Of the anecdotes that he gave, there wasn't enough information for me to say, oh, that's too good to be true or something. Like, someone likes to play the violin in their private time. Okay. Someone's childhood was terrible and they were homeless for a time. Okay. I mean, I can believe these things. There wasn't a sort of perfect anecdote or anything that he gave that I can recall. White supremacy. It's hard to avoid that one given the whole boardroom executive leadership team example complaint he gave. So certainly not explicit, but definitely implied and consequent.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
Right?
Yeah!
Our second bingo. Let's continue. Childhood or family anecdote. He never talked about his childhood or his family. He talked about his work experience, but never about childhood or family, as far as I can recall. Systemic institutional. He didn't say the words, and I don't know that I could say, oh, just, business as a concept thus equates to systemic or institutional. So I don't think so. And lastly, sales pitch for product or service. Well, given the title card, given his core listing, and that he talked about his clients and so on, it wasn't a hard sell on his services, but it certainly wasn't an absence of talking about it. So I'll circle that one. All right, so there we go. That's the card as I have it. If you have arguments for squares yet to be circled, please put them in the comments now, and I will get to as many as I can see. Advocatus Diaboli, Scribelite, his reference to who exactly is the senior executives in a company and them being all the same seemed a veiled off-the-cuff reference to white supremacy. Oh, yes, you got it right there. We are of similar minds. There we go. Let's see. Ercole Di Stefano, I need a drink for the next one of these. Well, Pepper Jack. Pepper Jack's good. I can recommend Pepper Jack. Let's see. Any other arguments for squares to be circled? I might have covered all the bases. Adabisi, he was doing a feel pity on me for not following my dreams. You are correct. That's playing victim. Oh, so he was self-victimizing, you're saying. Self-victimizing of his own. Expand on that a little bit. If I'm interpreting that correctly. Expand on that a little bit, because I might be there. Okay, Advocatus might do it for you. He did sort of play the victim when he told us about he couldn't be himself at work and had to change professions because of it. I really want to know, I mean, obviously the profession he's ended up in at this point seems to be motivational speaker, but he was talking about art and connections with people. I thought he was going to become like, a painter or an interior designer or something like that. He never went that far. So anyway, but you know what? Okay, you got me. You got me. I will concede the point. He was playing a victim for the sake of the presentation of his own limitations as an example of his argument, which didn't really mean a whole heck of a lot, but okay. But for the sake of the bingo card, it's a square. All right, so there's plays victim. Any other arguments for squares to be circled? We got a few at a BC. I'm drunk. I can't expand. Oh, well, but can you be curious, open, and can you release? I mean, eventually you're going to have to release just because of how much you've been drinking, but that's a whole other issue. Doubted anecdote. Uh-oh. The perfectly matched volunteer boss and once homeless employee. Ooh, you know what? That was awfully convenient, wasn't it? That was awfully convenient. Oh, man. Yeah, and there's not much more to say about it, is there? Yeah, it was kind of just, I work at a homeless center. Oh, well, I also happen to have been homeless when I was a child. Like, you know what? Given the absolute dearth of anecdotes or other examples that he gave over the course of the thing, and that it was just obviously a bit too perfect, let's say, for the sake of things, I will as well concede the point on that.
Oh, won't somebody please?
Bingo. B-I-N-G-O.
Okay.
Right?
Our third bingo. Oh my gosh. All right. Any other arguments for squares to be circled? Last call. Let's see. Everybody's celebrating. Yvonne Solomon, hello. I don't think I said hello earlier, but hello. Tendamar, hello. Let's see. And Advocates Diaboli, this all sounds like subtext to make your boss care so much they cannot bring themselves to fire you when the time comes. Well, this is one of the dangers that I brought up a long time ago. I did a video, if you can believe it, and the title was, I remember it to this day, it was called A Hole, W-H-O-L-E, in the Head. And it was about this company called, it was like 2 letters or something, and they were some kind of like product marketing company or something. But anyway, they're talking about bringing your whole self to work, right? And they went all out. They were talking about bring everything about yourself to work, your personal life, your love life, your experience, the whole 9 yards, right? And we really want this to be like a family, and we really want everybody to get to know each other. And we really want everybody to work here and, be open about themselves and just, walk in and feel at ease and be yourself, on and on and on. And, in my cold, calculating, pragmatic mind, I thought, well, if everybody's family, if everybody's friends, if you get to know each other on such a level that you're doing this, that, and the other, and employee resource groups and, extracurricular activities and everything, what happens when it comes time to lay someone off, or worse, have to fire somebody who is everybody's friend? What do you do then? How does that affect workplace culture? If you have everybody so interconnected, if you have everyone's real life commingled with their working life, and then a business decision has to be made, so like I say, there is a balance. There is a balance that has to be maintained, I think, for yourself as an employee, and certainly for yourself as an employer, of professional distance. There has to be a line, and you got to be careful not to cross it. Otherwise, you start inviting problems. All right, because business ultimately isn't necessarily about being nice. Sometimes it comes down to the bottom line, and the bottom line is not nice. So, a couple more here. A company called he must have died while naming it. Or he was a zombie. Maybe it was a zombie services organization, Mr. Tickle Trunk. Jeez. Don't be specious or whatever. Yvonne Solomon, privilege. He wasn't privileged enough to express his full self at work. Stretching. Unless he had given an example of how someone in some other position or whatever could, and that's you're going into Mr. Fantastic territory for stretching there. I appreciate the attempt though, Yvonne. I appreciate it. Abdicatus is really aiming for the fences here. Scribelight, he brought up feminism by proxy by mentioning Patagonia. They are a feminist, gender-neutral company. They pride themselves on... Okay. Yeah, I'll give you that was a far more verbose stretch, but still a stretch. Yeah, sorry. I appreciate the attempt. Points for effort on that one. Fair enough. I try. It's true. It's true. Well, and just don't let Yoda hear you say that. Otherwise, you're going to get a lecture. Scribelight, living impaired. It's a trip to HR. Oh, you're right. You're right. I have to share. I am specious against zombies. Brain-eating zombies. I'm not really a fan of them. I just can't stand them. Can't stand them. I think they should all be rounded up and destroyed for being zombies. I know. Controversial position. What can I tell you? Anyway, everybody, that's the show. That's the card. We got 1, 2, 3 bingos out of it, which isn't bad. The presentation was obviously lacking and continued and did not dissuade me from my opinion and belief that professional distance for both your own mental health and workplace cohesion and performance is necessary. But maybe someone someday will convince me otherwise. We'll see if I come across another one in the future. But let me know what you thought about the show in the comments below. Also, before I forget, the Discord server. I usually have this prepared ahead of time. This time I didn't, so please bear with me a moment while I prepare the link to the Discord server. Just have to get that there, this here, that there. Everything has a place, and it's place for everything. Okay, so in the chat right now, there is a link to the Discord server. And what happens at the Discord server? Well, all you have to do is click on that link. You'll find yourself on the landing channel called Say Hello. And in addition to saying hello, you also have to use the secret word. The secret word will tell me and the moderators that you actually watch the show and that you deserve the privilege, the equitable privilege of becoming a member of the Discord server. And today's secret word is connection. Because boy, oh boy, did we hear that enough during this, right? Connection. So say hello and connection, and you will then be connected with a membership to the Discord server where you can talk about stuff and things and stuff, either related to my channel or otherwise. Because I'm all about you guys being open on the Discord server, just not too open. I mean, everything in moderation. Also, programming notes, Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern will be the Sunday stream where I'll talk about a thing that I haven't decided upon yet. There you go. Also, sometime later this month, so far as planned, I am going to be interviewed by Benjamin Boyce. If you don't know about Benjamin Boyce, look him up on YouTube. He's been around for at least as long as me, probably longer, I believe. And he's done excellent work over time chronicling social justice and sanity. He does great interviews with all different types of people. I am envious of his interview skills, and maybe I'll learn a thing or two when I become the subject of his talents. That almost sounded kind of dirty, but whatever. And beyond that, I also am attempting in the near future to line up another episode of Living on Borrowed Crime. I have a couple of prospects, good prospects this time. Hopefully schedules work out. There's a big thing coming up in September called Crime Con, which is a yearly event, and you can kind of guess what it's about. It's for true crime content people to go off and have a convention and talk about stuff. And so there's a lot of activity going on right now in preparation for that. And so trying to schedule around that or ahead of that is a challenge, but I'm working on it. So just keep your eyes peeled on Twitter and the Discord for when those announcements are posted. With that, everybody, thank you so much for joining me. Moderators, thank you for keeping an eye on things. Even though everyone here is so well behaved, you have very, very little to do. Everybody who donated either to myself or to the fundraisers pinned to the top of the chat box, thank you guys so much for your generosity. Really do appreciate it. Everybody have a good rest. Have a good rest. Sure. Good rest of your evening. A good Friday ahead of you. A good weekend as well. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're not well, please get well soon. And I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.